Lucia Chappelle.
And I'm David Hunt.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending June 4th, 2022. More than 7,000 LGBTQ people and their allies defied death threats to celebrate Pride in Jerusalem on June 2nd. It's the 20th year for the colorful parade from Liberty Bell Park to a boisterous rally in Independence Park. Death threats against the march and its organizers have become almost routine. But this time, supportive Israeli lawmakers were also specifically targeted. Police arrested 10 people in Jerusalem suspected of planning to attack the march. Miki Levy became the first Speaker of the Knesset to address a post-parade Pride rally, saying that he was shocked to the depths of his soul over the threats of violence, according to the Times of Israel. The leader of Israel's parliament told the crowd, "So I came today to stand against this evil specter. You are entitled to love who you want. You are entitled to marry who you love. You are entitled to raise a family like anyone else. These are not privileges. These are basic rights for every citizen in the country." Despite Levy's cheerleading, civil marriage is not a basic right for anyone in Israel, regardless of sexual orientation. Marriages there can only be conducted and registered by religious authorities. Social Equality Minister Merev Cohen and Public Security Minister Omer Barley joined Levy in the march. Barley called the parade a victory of light over darkness, a victory of sanity over extremism. Tel Aviv hosts the country's largest Pride celebration in the coming week.
Right-wing U.S. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida had his axe to grind against a Pride celebration this week. Along with a few other anti-queer lawmakers, he forced the cancellation of a drag queen storytime scheduled to launch the season for a library at the Ramstein, Germany U.S. Air Force Base. Rubio absurdly claimed in a letter to Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall that the event would be a gross abuse of taxpayer funding to place children in a sexualized environment. Military officials have issued inconsistent explanations for the cancellation. One claims that a more inclusive event is in the works.
Meanwhile, Pride was celebrated for the first time on May 25th on South Africa's Robben Island, located just north of Cape Town. The island is known as the place where anti-apartheid hero Nelson Mandela spent 18 of his 27 years in prison. The national queer advocacy group The Other Foundation organized the event. Activists marched from Murray's Harbor to the flagpoles near the entrance of the former prison, where the rainbow flag was raised. Organizers hope that the celebration will become an annual event. As the nation's first post-apartheid president, Mandela helped push for anti-bias protections for lesbians and gays in the rewritten South African Constitution, thanks to the lobbying of some of his gay colleagues.
Moving to the west of Africa, 3 people were arrested in Senegal this week following the mob attack on a U.S. entertainer who was mistaken for gay. Apparently, he was just dressed too flamboyantly for Dakar. The unidentified visiting musician can be seen on videos posted to YouTube and TikTok, bloodied, barefoot, and stripped to his boxer shorts. Several dozen men are slapping him about the head and torso as he's paraded down the street to the sounds of anti-queer chants, like, "Let's kill him before the police arrive," and "He does not deserve to live." All of his belongings were stolen. The assault happened on the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Intersex phobia, and transphobia. A popular Senegalese football player publicly refused to wear a rainbow-colored uniform in observance of the day at a French league match. That may have contributed to the mob violence. A rally was held on May 22nd in Dakar featuring speakers railing against LGBTQ rights. The 3 arrests came a day later. Senegal's president, Macky Sall, has repeatedly expressed opposition to repealing the nation's antiquated laws criminalizing same-gender sex. Offenders can be punished with up to 5 years in prison. Global surveys measuring how welcoming and safe a country is for queer tourists rank Senegal near the bottom.
Newly elected Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese this week secured enough seats in Parliament to form a Labor Party majority government. In the ouster of the right-wing coalition government of the Liberal Party's Scott Morrison, Labor has won 76 seats for a majority in the House of Representatives. 2 additional House seats remain too close to call. It's a different story in the Senate, where Albanese will need a few crossbench votes. However, queer activists have an optimistic outlook for a reasonably progressive legislative agenda. As Albanese's pick for foreign minister, lesbian Senator Penny Wong is among a record number of women in the new Albanese cabinet, 10 out of 23 positions. She's now one of the world's most powerful government officials. 3 of 4 queer Liberal Party lawmakers lost their re-election bids, but 8 out lawmakers succeeded. They're among what's being called the most diverse parliament in Australian history. Joining Penny Wong in the Senate are Labor's Louise Pratt, the Green Party's Nita Green and Janet Rice, and the Liberal Party's Dina Smith. Seats in the House are ready for Labor's Julian Hill, the Green Party's Stephen Bates, and the Liberal Party's Angie Bell.
Finally, irrational U.S. transphobia has moved from the fringes to mainstream Republican politics. Results of a survey released this week by the Southern Poverty Law Center echo the gays want to recruit your children claims of yesteryear. Close to 7 in 10 Republican respondents said they believe that transgender adults and gender ideology pose a threat to children and to society in general. The venerable anti-racism group finds that this thinking has accompanied the rise of white Christian nationalism and the belief that non-white people are replacing the country's white Christian majority. Hundreds of anti-trans laws introduced in just the first 5 months of this year by Republican-dominated state legislatures may just be the tip of the hateful iceberg.
Oft misspoken Arizona Congressman Paul Gosar falsely claimed on Twitter that the mass murderer in Uvalde, Texas, was a transgender leftist illegal alien. The shooter was a U.S. citizen and was not trans. Gosar eventually deleted his tweet. He's actually expected to win re-election easily in November.
You also might remember another far-right Republican talking trans trash at one of ex-President Trump's recent Save America rallies about Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
And you know what? Pete Buttigieg can take his electric vehicles and his bicycles, and he and his husband can stay out of our girls' bathrooms. Yep. Yeah.
That's Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who won election and media stardom with an anti-mask, anti-vax, QAnon conspiracy, beware of the Jewish space lasers platform. Greene amplified Gosar's off-the-rails anti-trans comments in a Facebook Live video this week, featuring her own lying racist rant about the Uvalde killer.
Was Hispanic, clearly had a lot of mental issues going on, as was shown with him wearing eyeliner, cross-dressing, a lot of his language, being a loner. We're still learning a lot more about him.
Greene's May 29th diatribe seems to say that LGBTQ recruitment efforts over the years are finally starting to pay off. Listen to her latest conspiracy theory.
They just want you to think that all of a sudden the entire population is steadily turning gay or turning trans, just generation. Probably in about 4 or 5 generations, no one will be straight anymore. Everyone will be either gay or trans or non-conforming or whatever the list of 50 or 60 different options there are.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's favorite president tossed out a bizarre comment of his own at a May 27th Save America rally in Wyoming.
We will defend parents' rights. No teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent. Can you imagine?
No, Donald, we sure cannot.
That's NewsWrap, Global Queer News with Attitude, for the week ending June 4th, 2022. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Thank you. Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast and much more.
And you can read the transcript and listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm David Hunt. Stay healthy.
And I'm Lucia Chappelle. Stay safe.
This Way Out delivers LGBTQ news and culture to more than 150 local communities on radio stations around the world, and we are also a free online news service. You can choose your favorite way to listen, online or on the air, at thiswayout.org. Please sign up for our free e-newsletter, Inside This Way Out. We will respect your trust in us and make sure your personal information is never shared with others.
Just send us an email at info@thiswayout.org to receive the informative and unique addition to the show. You'll be invited to join us for a more in-depth look into our stories and be encouraged to learn more about This Way Out's 3 decades of broadcast activism.
We hope you choose to join us in celebration of LGBTQ history and culture. Email us at info@thiswayout.org to join the movement.
We'll make sure you always know what's going on inside This Way Out.